Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Thanks for joining me. My name's Christopher Donald and this is going to be a time-lapse video of me finishing the inside of a bowl. This is actually a cool process. You can put plastic on one side of a slab and then press that slab plastic side touching the inside of like a screen, like a mesh, and you can push the clay through the mesh and it won't stick because it has plastic on one side. So this is a bowl that was formed that way. The problem though is that pressing process makes it so the inside of the piece looks like it was a pinch pot, essentially. There's just tons of little finger indents. And so I'm cleaning all of that up, and I'm using a trimming tool, a loop tool, to take off the first layer. And I made sure to sharpen it really good before I started. Most people don't realize that trimming tools, most of them come dull, and you need to sharpen them. I needed the tool to be sharp so that it would slice rather than me needing to use a lot of pressure and actually push too hard. Once I got all of the main big marks off with the loop tool, I can use a sharpened spoon. They work really, really well scraping the inside curves of things. Where the edge of the bowl kind of cracked as I was working, I just put that back together again by scoring it and using a little bit of white vinegar. And you can see there's some small holes that are opening up as I scrape. I'm going to patch those later. Oh, I did another edge there. You use white vinegar because at this late stage of leather hard, it's not going to make the clay expand the same way that water will and cause shrinkage problems. So white vinegar works fantastic anytime you want to put things together, especially late in the process. You can actually repair greenware with white vinegar. So once I've got the whole thing cleaned up, I needed to make the edge round again. It had kind of gotten squashed during its drying process. And so I wrapped some wet fabric around the edge and a plastic bag and just left it for like 30 minutes. And then that softened it up enough that I could re-round the edge. Now I'm going in here and I'm using white vinegar and then scored it. And then I'm adding a scored flattened round coil. The edge of this bowl just really wasn't very appealing looking. It was very thin because it was just the thickness of the slab. So I'm strengthening the edge. It also will fix those two spots where I had issues with it cracking. So this will reinforce that. Now I'm using a wooden, you can see I got a nice little crack on the side there. Again, score it, white vinegar, put a patch on it. Then I'll blend that out using a rubber rib. And then I scored and used white vinegar around the patch and then feathered it with the back of the spoon. What I'd done with the paddle was to kind of paddle the edge of the bowl a bit, sort of curve it inwards to give it a more attractive shape. And also used my thumb to kind of taper that inside of the coil. I'm going to do a little bit more here. So again, using the scoring tool to score the part of the wall that I'm going to blend into, putting some white vinegar and then starting to feather into that wall with my thumb, and then continuing to do that with the back side of the metal spoon, where I can use a little bit more pressure than I can with my finger. And then using the rubber rib to help feather that some more. Notice I'm supporting the back side of the wall with my hand. The wall is still a little bit on the soft side for me softening it up. But I want to try and do as much of this work as I can as it's drying so that it'll blend together really well. All right, adding a small patch to the rim. All right, so now what I'm doing is I'm using a sculpture tool that has little teeth on it. And the teeth allow me to kind of scrape away, and the teeth aren't going to follow problems or inconsistencies in the side. They're going to kind of scrape right through them. So it's a great contouring tool. It's a great smoothing tool. And so I kind of will use that, or you can use a serrated rib, metal rib. And that's going to help me I'm gonna blend all of that, make the rim so it looks nice and organic, that goes along with the feel of the outside of the bowl. And right now I'm going back and I'm doing a little bit of scraping on the inside with my sharpened spoon. And then some more work with the serrated sculpture tool. You see it there laying on the table on the right. Occasionally I'll start spraying the inside of the bowl. All right, now I'm using a metal rib and coming back and doing a little bit light scraping in the inside. At each stage as this is drying, I'm checking the roundness. I'm making sure that things are staying the way that I want, so as it's stiffening up, it doesn't dry in a way that's not quite round again for the second time. All right, now I'm using different loop tools, different trimming tools to clean up any of the lobes on the outside that aren't quite right. Also using that serrated sculpture tool. So kind of going back and forth between the sculpture tool and my loop tools and just getting all of those kind of redefined, cleaned up, and blended into the new, more organic, thicker rim that I've put on the bowl. The idea is that I want this to not look insubstantial, and that rim is also structural. Without the rim, the piece would have a real tendency to want to warp during the firing, and that rim will help keep it round. Again, I'm cleaning up some of the outside lobes. You can see that great pattern from pushing it into a screen. Now I'm using a soft red rubber rib, a Sherrill rib, Michael Sherrill rib, to compress. Using the smooth side of my sculpture tool, it's basically like a very small metal rib, and I'm using that to help give those lobes their perfect shape. Then I'll use a sponge wet with some white vinegar in order to kind of get rid of all of the last little marks that I have on the outside. That'll be the final stage that I do. And so you'll see that in just a second. All right, so this is to show you, this took almost 2 hours. It takes quite a bit of time to make these things look the way that you want them to. So, make sure you put in the hours and you'll get the results that you want. Thanks for joining me. Please subscribe and be alerted for new content.